analyzing how characters respond to trouble. Readers, you've been on a fast-paced journey to understand as much as possible about the characters in your stories and the world they live in. You've asked yourselves, what do I learn about the character? What do I learn about the situation? And what's the backstory? How is the storyline of my characters and of history unfolding? And you'll remember that we've noticed all along that in historical fiction, characters encounter conflict in the world. They are swept up into the problems that are beyond their control, that envelop them and force them to confront painful truths about the world. Today, I want us to think for a bit about the hard stuff that happens to characters in our historical stories. But before we do that, I want to show you something. Will you for a moment think of times in your life or the life of your family when you or other family members have faced really hard problems? I'm thinking, for instance, about my grandparents and how they were forced to move to the United States from oppression in the country where they were from, and that's sort of the pressures from outside, something that was political that was happening that forced them to have to make a really difficult decision. But there's also been difficult times inside my family when we had to cope with a family member's mental illness. So when you think of a hard time, just think of it in your family's timeline. And here's why I ask you to do that and to think about hard times, even though sometimes we like to forget hard times. It's because when times are hard, that's when you learn more about people and about yourself. Take a moment and tell your partner or somebody sitting in your group, when trouble came, were you pleased with how you responded, or would you change how you reacted, if you think about it now? So take a moment to talk about that. So we can pause for about 2 minutes. Okay, let's continue. So readers, characters, like people, inevitably face different kinds of trouble. You can learn a lot about characters and readers, and characters and from characters, from how they respond to trouble. So let's hone in on this. We're going to try to grow some more insightful ideas about the narrator in Patrol by finding a spot or two in the story where we see him responding to trouble, and by thinking about how he does that and what it suggests. So I looked through the book here. I know I don't have it to show you in front of you right now, but I'm looking for a spot in this book where our character encounters trouble. I mean, more trouble than usual, as the whole story is actually kind of about trouble, because after all, it is a war and everything like that, but a specific moment of trouble. Okay, so let's hone in. This is on page 4 in my little book here, on this part about when he was part of a brief firefight. And I'm going to reread, and will you think, how is he responding to trouble? And what does this show about him? Shots! A firefight! I dive to the ground, my heart beats faster. I lift my rifle and fire into the green forest. Bullets sing and whine over my head. I empty my clip, sending more bullets into the trees, the bushes. In reply, the bark flies from a tree very near my head. I think I see the enemy. I reload and shoot again. It is only a shadow, but I do not stop shooting. In war, shadows are enemies too. Wow, that's an intense part. So how is he responding to trouble, and what is this showing? Are you worried about our protagonist, about our soldier? Because I am. I'm afraid for him physically, of course. There are bullets flying over his head and chipping away chunks of trees all around him, but I think what scares me the most is the effect this is having on him mentally. What are you noticing? Turn and talk. You can pause the video here. So if you're like me, you might have been noticing that he's coming unhinged. He's recklessly firing bullets, it says, because it even says in there that in war, shadows are enemies too. And that shows that he's responding to the trouble by becoming locked in terror. He knows that there's nobody there. He sees it's a shadow and he says, shadows are enemies too. He's so terrified that he's just unloading, it sounds like, clip after clip full of bullets, because that's just where he is in terms of his terror. That's how his response is. That's how he's responding to terror. So what I'm doing here, and again, you can't see this, but I'm going to just jot my thinking on a Post-it here. And I'm going to jot that yesterday I was thinking, or when I read about it a couple of days ago, I was thinking he was scared. But now I'm starting to think that he's scarred. And that and another Post-it I'm going to write says the war has damaged him. Did you follow my steps, readers? First, I looked for a moment of trouble. So 1, look for a moment of trouble. And then second, 2, I observed closely how my character coped with that moment of trouble. And finally, third, I thought about what the character's reaction might reveal about him. So I hope you're ready to try these steps. Can you get out your book, club books right now, and go through them with somebody near you? And what I'd like you to do is, if you can see the steps up on the board now, try to find a moment where there was some trouble and go through the 4 steps. Identify it, observe the reaction, ask what does this reveal about the character, and then review earlier thoughts and revise them with new ideas in mind. So we're going to pause the video here for a couple minutes, maybe 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, readers, right now, I want you to talk about this time in the novel where you're with your group, about where your protagonist encountered trouble. And I want you to think about some sentence starters that could help you, like the character could have, but instead he or she, this shows. So for example, the character could have stopped fighting when he knew that there were no enemies that he could see, but instead he emptied out another clip of bullets. And this shows that he's become a little bit scarred and unhinged, because even though he knows there's no enemy there, he continues to shoot. So can you try that now? The character could have, but instead he, and this shows. You can pause the video. Okay, so readers, today we learned that we can gain new insights about characters by thinking about their responses to conflict. We identified moments that test our characters, we closely observed their reactions, we asked ourselves what this might reveal about them, and then we reviewed our earlier thoughts and revised them with our new ideas in mind. So, I'm going to set you off now to do some of your own reading, and I want you to go through the 4 steps that you see right up here, and the substitute teacher is going to come around with a little handy tip sheet that can help you with some either question starters or ideas of ways that you can think about this further. And then for your homework, I want you to do the reading that your group assigned, stay on task, stay on course for what you chose to do as a group, and then keep in mind as you read and start jotting about new ideas as you read them that may take you on a journey of thought in ways that will surprise you, and you might find that thought prompts from class will be useful. So try to keep those out, put them in your notebook somewhere where you can see them, and leave a little time at the end of your homework time to do a quick write entry. So maybe write for 4 or 5 minutes about your new thinking. And that's it.